All right, we're back for another Free Agent Friday, and I've got Anthony Rizzo with me. Anthony, thanks for joining me.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I definitely appreciate it.
So, walk us through where you went to school, where you're at school, kind of degrees that you're working on now.
Sure. So I'm a Carolina, and so on. I went on a track scholarship to Queen's University of Charlotte, small D2 school right outside the center city. Got an undergrad degree in sport management. Did a few internships throughout my time there, and then afterwards, that eventually led me here to Florida State, where I currently am in between my first and second year of a master's degree in sport management.
So, when you were in college in North Carolina, what part of the track and field were you in? What event were
I
you in?
was in the sprint, so primarily
Okay.
the 400, but also ran the 200, 4x4, but picked or got handed the most grueling race that you can get in track and field. I know some people would say the 800 as well, but the 4 and 8 right there, they're tough races for sure. But I made my way through it. So.
How many years did you participate in that in school?
So I graduated in 3.5 years. I brought some credits from high school, so I ran for 3 years.
Okay.
I finished up the December of 2017, and that was before any of the season even starts. So, and I didn't really have a master's in my mind at that point in time.
Okay.
So, I just kind of wrapped it up that third year and hung up the spikes and went on my way.
So, at what point did you realize you want to get into sports as like a career?
Yeah, so I think I basically have been participating in sports in some form or fashion since like second or third grade. Played baseball, then switched to basketball for about 8 years. I actually only ran track for 2 years in high school before I got the scholarship and went to college. So that was pretty proud moment, I guess. But
Nice.
it was when I got to Queens that I learned that you could get a degree in sport management and you could kind in that. I had kind of been under the idea that I was going to get a major in marketing or business or something, and then maybe try to get into sports or however that was going to work out. But once I got there and found out about that degree, I was like, oh, well, this is even better. I can learn about sports and get an internship and get a job. Little did I know how hard it is to get that job, um, but yeah, that was kind of what led me to kind of pursuing the path that I'm trying to pursue.
So, what is going to be like, what's your dream job in sports?
Yeah, so I think to be honest, at this point in time, I don't unfortunately have a dream job. I know that I want to stay in the events industry, whether that's event operations, stadium operations, anything in that area. I think if I choose to stay in college athletics, I'd eventually like to get to that conference level and kind of oversee championships. I did a volunteer experience this this past March with the women's ACC tournament right before everything with COVID hit, and really got to see kind of the ins and outs of what goes on to put on a championship event like that. And I've done some work here at Florida State with cross country and soccer championships, but that experience was just kind of eye opening to me, and it really I enjoyed that aspect. I mean, I was out there on the court handing the championship hats out to the NC State women's basketball team, and it was just kind of like, wow, this is. I've been on the athlete side of this, but to be on the worker side of it was definitely something that, like I said, opened my eyes to the potential of that as a career.
So, when you graduate, what is kind of your target, first position? Is it going to be
Um,
more of the ops or more of the event planning?
I think just based on some of the feedback that I've gotten, and then when you start to look into some of the job descriptions and everything, and a lot of times with college athletics, like it is at Florida State, facilities and events, it's all one department. I know, like Clemson, for example, they're split up. Um, but I'd say staying in college athletics is kind of either or. I've talked to a few people recently at the professional level to kind of get an idea of what the jobs look like there. And I think I would trend more toward the stadium ops side of things, just because you're talking about overseeing guest services or security or any of those items. Whereas the events at the professional level is more of your kind of overseeing the entertainment and the run of show and all of that. And from what I do here at Florida State, it's working with security, working with ADA seating, working with just those pieces and doing facility walkthroughs and everything throughout the week. And so I think that professionally, I would trend in that direction. College athletics, I would try to remain exactly where I am with the facilities and events.
So tell me about any of the internships you had so far or volunteer stuff. Let's get into that a little bit.
Yeah, so I went through Queens, and basically the summer after my sophomore year, from there until I graduated, I did an internship every semester.
Nice.
I was really, I wanted to try, I jumped around a lot just because I was under the idea of let me test out all these different areas to really find out what I wanted to do and what I didn't want to do. So I started out with the Gastonia Grizzlies and like baseball operations, and then went high school and kind of nonprofit organizations, and did an internship outside of sports with Northwestern Mutual to kind of answer the question of, do I want to stay in sports and take the pay cuts and the hours, or do I want to go elsewhere? Quickly decided would like to stay in sports. But I think I did an internship with Living Sport. It was one of the first ones that they did, and went to Milan, Italy. And I think that experience, we helped put on the Red Hook Criterium, a cycling event over there. And I think that experience really opened my eyes to events. And so from after that point, I tried to align what I did to the events industry. So I graduated, did a trainee position with a hospitality and events agency, then tried to, that ended, got some feedback from supervisors, and I was like, I've always had a passion for college athletics. Why not try to take this interest in events and operations and go the college athletics route? Ended up with UNC Charlotte and ticket operations, just because there's not just one area of operations within college athletics. Quickly realized that tickets wasn't where I wanted to stay, but I did at the time enjoy being in college athletics. And I knew that to progress upwards, I was most likely going to need a graduate degree. And so that kind of led me here to Florida State to pursue that master's, but then to do a graduate assistantship with the facility and event management department.
So what kind of stuff are you working on with Florida State then?
So I work under basically the head of our department, and actually when I got here, he had just been promoted, but he was still overseeing kind of football game day operations. So I was very football heavy in the fall. That'll be this coming fall, but just like making credential boards, up the meeting with or overseeing some of our gate management, ADA sections, facility walkthroughs, all kinds of things with that. But then outside of football, really tried to stay involved with cross country, with women's soccer, men's and women's basketball. I was actually basically the day that the ACC just kind of canceled everything across the board with all their events for the rest of the season. I was supposed to start as the event manager for a tennis match at 5 o'clock that day against Duke. And I had everything planned out, had all the meals scheduled, been in contact with the officials, and everything kind of got shut down. And I was like, well, there goes my event manager experience.
Right.
So that's definitely something as I enter year 2 that I'm excited for, because I know the experience I'm going to need to some of these entry-level positions with other athletics departments where you're in that role as event manager with several different sports.
What is the biggest asset that you bring to the table for your next position?
I think going back to that college athletics experience, any of the intangibles that kind of come with that. Just the hard dedication, the self-motivation. But I think from some of my internship experiences as well, receptiveness to feedback. As a college athlete, you're always getting feedback from coaches, from some of your teammates, but especially in my case with only 2 or 3 years of experience before I even got to college to run, I really relied on that feedback to how can I get better in the 400? Where am I losing time? What can I do to improve? And I've learned in some of my roles working that how to take that feedback, how to look for that feedback, because I understand that it's sometimes it's constructive criticism, but it's for the betterment of my career. It's only going to make me a better professional as I move forward. And so I think just the overall receptiveness of being able to come in day one, not knowing everything, but being willing to even if I make mistakes or when I make mistakes, to be able to take that feedback and implement it immediately for a better result moving forward.
So what area do you think you need to work on the most?
Definitely confidence. I was raised with high expectations, as my parents kind of set that early on, and so it kind of that goes with me as I grow up. And I mean, there's definitely the plus side because you always expect the best and you want to get good results, but on the negative, you always expect the best. So I think I can be critical of myself, and that confidence can really come into play because it's if I don't feel like I know everything or I feel like I'm unsure of stuff. I'm typically a very personable person in general, just very high energy and outgoing. But if my confidence is lower, then the personal nature is going to be hindered. And so it's something I'm still continuing to improve on by just asking more questions, trying to ask the right questions. And so if I can go into an event or go into an experience feeling more informed, it can go up, and the skills that I know I have and the experience that I've gained throughout my time so far can come to light, and I can put my best foot forward.
I mean, there's always, stuff to work on, even when
Yeah.
you get old like me. So you're always trying to improve. So
Oh yeah.
just keep working, keep working. How would you define success?
I think again from the athletics perspective, because that is I guess kind of who I am, just a retired athlete. But you would define success as having that championship trophy in your hands at the end of the day. But I think I've learned from a professional side of things, especially in the events industry, it's being able to best experience for everyone in attendance. So it's when you talk about leading up to the event throughout the planning phases and preparation to being event day and operating and executing everything. Mistakes are going to happen, but you try to be as flawless as possible. But making sure that you can provide the best experience for the guests that are in attendance. I think that's another reason why I enjoy being in events is because so many experiences when I was running, when I was at conference or at all these different track meets or playing basketball in AAU or what have you. And the experience that I got, it's something I want to pay forward to other college athletes or other fans that are in the stadium, is to give them the best experience possible. And I think if I can leave or watch them leave at the end of the day and head to their cars to go wherever, and a kid's got a smile on his face or the parents are really happy or whatnot, I think that's, from an events perspective, what you can define as a success.
Yeah. And it's very rewarding to see as well, just
Absolutely.
from being in it. So it's one of my
Yeah.
favorite times is really opening day when, nobody sees all the work that's done behind the scenes. Nobody understands it, but they come out, they have a blast, and job done, well.
Yeah.
So
Nobody understands what I don't think anybody understands what event management actually means. They just know there's all these different things that come into play on an event day with concession security,
putting out all fires without anybody knowing there was a fire.
Exactly. So it's all the behind the scenes work, but it's just the, the experience of what happens and the memories that fans get is what our job, I guess, ultimately results in.
Give us a fun fact or two about yourself.
Well, I won't keep harping on the college athletic standpoint. I think I've dropped a
Yeah.
few here and there, but I actually, my sophomore year at Queens, I participated in our theater production, The Twelfth Night by Shakespeare. I was Sir Toby. I don't know how much you know about that story,
I
but
don't, but it sounds
yeah,
interesting.
no, it was one of those experiences that it was trying something new, kind of broadening who I was and kind of getting out of just the mold of going to class, going to practice, doing an internship. And I mean, I think that doing that experience alone, not only did I learn more about myself and kind of get out of that comfort zone, but the time management that was involved with that. Like I said, balancing track practice and all the classes that I had and learning lines and going to our rehearsals and everything. That was definitely something that it took a lot, but when I look back on it and kind of got through that opening night and just the experience that I had, I really enjoyed it. And I think it's if if I would have had the opportunity, I think I would have done some more. But again, after that point, I needed to start doing internships for the betterment of
Yeah.
my career. But that's something that I will always look back on as just kind of one of those experiences that I wish they could have gotten it recorded and I could have got a copy of it because my parents weren't able to make it and they would
Uh-huh.
have loved it. But and I could watch it. But no, that was definitely an amazing experience. And, all
It's good
right.
to get out of the comfort zone every now and then. So,
Oh yeah,
I mean
for sure.
that's me with my podcast and doing the free agent Fridays. It's definitely out of my comfort zone. So
Yeah.
it's been fun though. It's been fun.
Yeah. And you build
So
like a new set of skills and traits that you might not get elsewhere. So
yep.
that's definitely, I mean, being in a theater production kind of helped me become more comfortable speaking in front of large groups. I mean, it
Yep.
wasn't a huge group that was there in attendance, but
Mhm.
still, it's a group of people. And so then when you get into the public speaking atmosphere, you can kind of look back on those skills that you gained doing that.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, it sounds like I really like the fact that you've done a lot of volunteer and internships. I know when I look for people, that's one of the first things I look for on the resume is what's your real world experience?
Yeah.
Not just the degree. I mean, the degree is nice, but really, what have you done? And you know,
Yeah.
were you just focused on schoolwork or partying, or were you focused on, you know, developing
Yeah.
your skills as well? And so it's good. Keep that up. That'll definitely help, and hopefully, we can help and follow your journey as you graduate next year. So thanks for joining
Yeah.
me.
No, thanks for having me. I definitely appreciate it.